afternoon, everybody. Welcome back for those of you that we confused with our technical difficulties just a minute ago. Sorry we're running a little bit late, but we're here at the Alabama Nature Center today to talk to you a little bit about nature journaling. And I'm Holly, and I wanted to show you that we have a lot of different things we could talk about. Nature journaling can be very simple, or it can go just about as far as you want it to go. So a lot of people have used nature journals or any kind of journals really over the years throughout history. A lot of naturalists to keep up with records and things they've seen, and a lot of writers will use journals to put down their thoughts for a new book. Artists will keep up with sketches and things like that in journals. Gardeners and different people, bloom times on plants. So a lot of different reasons to use journals. But nature journals, obviously, if you're out observing different things in nature, that's when you'd want to use a nature journal. So I wanted to show you a few different types of nature journals that you could use, and then show you some different ways you can add to your nature journal. So I have kind of a variety. I just picked up some different ones that some of my coworkers at the Nature Center have made. You can start with something as simple as, there's one here, but just some paper together with a string that can hold them together. Or here's one from Miss Kristen's, just with rubber bands. You punch holes in it, fold your papers in half, punch holes, and find you a nice little twig, and you put the rubber bands through and secure it like that if you want one with a stick. Or you can also, if you want one that's easy to add pages to later, if you want to be able to add, you could do something with some rings, or, there's really kind of an endless supply. You can just put staples in there. If you like one that's bound together, you could use your typical composition notebook. Or if you are birding and you need your hands free, you might need something really small just to tuck in your pocket of, something like a little tiny notepad that you could, maybe use just a few notes to add to a bigger nature journal later. You can take a clipboard with paper if you like loose paper that you want to add to another journal. Small clipboards, big clipboards. You can make a nature journal out of a manila folder. Just staple your papers in there. Or even a paper bag nature journal. You can do that one too. You can Google that online. But it just opens up, and you can put the paper on the inside. So it makes it kind of portable. Really good for small hands to keep up with. And the outside kind of protects it if you're out near the pond or out and it starts raining and you don't want everything to get wet. That kind of gives you some protection on the outside. So lots of different sizes. Some people even do group journaling or family journaling, and you could do that with a bound notebook, or you could do that with loose pages where you could just add that all into one journal for your group or family as well. So you can go just about as far with it, but you just need something to take notes or draw pictures on, and a pencil. Pencils are good because they have erasers. If you don't quite put down what you want to begin with, you can erase it and fix it. But the good news about nature journals, they're just for you. They're not for anybody else, so they should not all be the same. They should be how you want them to be for you. Spelling and grammar, not so important in a nature journal. Beautiful artistic drawings, also not a requirement. You don't have to be an artist to do nature journaling, thank goodness, or I'd be in trouble because I'm not an artist. But if you're out in nature, you want to start a nature journal, it's something you can do throughout the different seasons, or you can, a daily, what you're seeing, or what you're, I wouldn't recommend tasting a lot unless you know a lot about tasting things out in nature. But what you're hearing, we're hearing all kinds of sounds out here at the Nature Center today. So just using your observation skills, and like I said, you cannot go wrong. You can write about them and describe and write poetry. You can just put details. You can draw sketches and pictures. Some people like to be more scientific with measurements and things like that. Some people would want to put the date and their location and what the weather was like and that kind of information, where, that kind of stuff. So you can't really go wrong. It's whatever you want it to be, whatever you want it to be. So that's some different options for your actual journal. And the only other thing you're going to need at a bare minimum is a pencil or something to draw or write with. And then after that, you can go about as far with it. I'm not going to attempt to show you my scary looking drawings. I can show you some beautiful ones in here. The person that did this is going to be able to see some of their artwork. Now these were enhanced and later on, after being in the field, and some instruction given by an actual artist, so of course they're going to be super beautiful. But this would be where you could go with a sketch. You could take it back home and you could add some, details. You could add some color to it. You don't have to do those kind of things, though. You could do all kind of. A lot of people will also add questions while they're out in the field, and they have a question that they want to find the answer to later. You could jot that down in your nature journal. And once you get finished with your nature journaling, you can always go back home and you can use any number of things. A lot of field guides. That's not something you have to do right there while you're out hiking. You can go back and identify an insect or a rock or something you saw. And they do make portable versions. These are all pretty small. Some field guides are really thick and heavy. You're not going to want to carry those around. But these are some, that you could carry with you if you wanted to. They're laminated, so if they get wet, it doesn't matter. But so some people might want to carry a bag and take a few tools with them and really go all out while they're making their nature journals. If you're out with a net or binoculars, little observation containers. We have magnifying glasses. I think we have one down here. Magnifying glasses or loupes and things, just to be able to observe things a little closer, and that's another magnifying glass. You could carry these things in a small bag. You're going to need to have your hands free, but you could use those, journal a little bit, or you don't have to do any of that. You could just take the journal. But a bag is nice so that your hands are kind of free. And once you've done some of your sketching, you can go back. You could use colored pencils, or depending on what kind of paper you used, you could even add some paint. That one journal you saw the examples on, there was some watercolor paint added to that. You could. You don't have to, but that's just something you could add to your journal later on. And there are books. There are plenty of books that you could use for inspiration for your nature journals. So many books. I have a book problem, but you could look up online all kinds of different, if you're really wanting to get into nature journaling, all kinds of resources online that you could use for reference and how to get started on nature journaling. And then even beyond that, if you once you get done, you could do this on the spot, or once you get back to find the answers to those questions you're curious about, or to find an identification for something you sketched or saw. You could take pictures of things while you're in the field, out on a trail or in your yard, or using a camera, your cell phone camera, anything like that. You can join, and if you're young, your adults could do this, you could join, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there that have, they're specific about, helping to identify different plants and animals if you're really getting into that kind of thing and you need some expert help. There are also apps like Naturalist is a fantastic app. It can help you with identification, and it can also let you kind of be a citizen scientist and add what you have found in the location to kind of add to that collection of information. So while we try our best to get away from electronics and things, they can definitely be used to enhance what you're doing with nature journaling, but you don't have to have all those electronics to nature journal. You just need a piece of paper and pencil, that's all. I was going to show you, I promised I'm not going to do any drawing because that would scare you. But I was going to show you a couple examples of things that you could do in a nature journal while you're out in nature that might be kind of fun. I have a few crayons out here, and Some of you, most of you have probably done leaf rubs before, but if you haven't, these are fun in anybody of all ages. And if you're adults, don't act like you're too good for this, because you know you have fun doing kid things. So you can take any kind of paper. This one's a little thicker cardstock, and put your leaves down that you've collected. And while we're talking about collecting, got to be kind of careful about collecting things while you're out and about. Depending on where you are, you know, I did pick some leaves this morning. It's going to be all good. But certain things, like any kind of bird feathers and nests and things like that, those are not okay for you to collect. And you definitely don't want to collect living things. It's okay to, you know, catch an insect or something in a container like this and observe it and take pictures and sketch it, but then you want to let all those living things go, because we don't have the right place for those to live, and they have a hard time caring for those kind of things. But if you are in, you know, state parks and national forests and things, you definitely cannot just go collect all the things. So it's better to use your senses of observation and take pictures, leave only footprints and those kind of things. So I'm gonna I put my leaves out there, and I'm gonna put my paper on. You can just hold it still and take your crayon and go back and forth. It's been a while since I've done this. Did not know I was going to get to spend my Friday having fun like this. But yeah, you can make little, and this is one of those things where if you don't know what this is, you can look it up later once you get home. You can look online, or you could look it up in a tree book or guide or something like that, or you could join one of those Facebook groups. They have them for everything. There's mushroom ones and butterfly ones and bird ones, and it just goes on, and they're very local to, if you're watching from here close by in Alabama, they have Alabama ones, or if you would want to find one that's more local to where you live. Anyways, so you could make some leaf rubs, and later on when you got home, if you were doing this out in the field, you could look up what kind they are and label them if you wanted to, or it could just be beautiful like it is. So that's one kind of rub you can do. And another thing, now normally you would do this on a tree that's actually, just don't have any right here, but I brought a piece of bark. You can do bark rubs. I'm not so sure that this would be super beautiful when I tried this, but you know, just a tree that is out in your yard or on a trail, you would just put that, same kind of deal, you just put your colors over it. It would be probably a lot more beautiful and a lot easier if you were using a real tree. You just wrap your paper around there, and you might get somebody to help you hold it. But I was going to try this. It might not work so good, but I have been informed. This is a piece of snake skin from one of our education animals at the Nature Center, and I'm thinking that this should make a rub, but what do I know? We're going to, might not be so good on this piece of paper. Oh my gosh, it does work. Whoop, I broke the crayon. Oh, it might be a little more difficult to see, but you can actually see where the scales were at on there. So anyways, there's a little bit in there. So you can do a lot of different, you know, that'll show you some textures of different things that you might find out in nature. Now, it would be harder to do that with a pine cone, but you could draw a pine cone or something like that, things that are a little more 3D. Might be a little bit more difficult, but I brought a few little bits, because you know when you're out in nature, you're always finding all kinds of things, and you might not know what they are, but they're all super cool. So this fantastic box of bits that you could, none of this has anything that's not okay for you to collect. Since we're at the Nature Center, we happen to have permits to be able to collect some of the things, bird things like nests and feathers. We have this because we have a special permit for that, but usually it's not okay unless you have a permit to collect bird parts. But there's a piece of an antler that would actually make a rub. Anything that's got a texture. If you had a nice, this is a small turtle shell, but if you had one that had a lot of texture to it, this one's very flat and smooth, but anything that has a texture you could make a rub of. Some people actually will paint with a lot of these different nature bits. You could actually, instead of using a paintbrush, you could use some of the nature bits to make prints or paint in your nature journal. So many options out there for different things you could do. But again, it's the most important thing is to remember that you cannot go wrong, and not to get discouraged by the fact if you are not an artist or you're not a writer. It does not matter, because the journal is for you. Is for you to help make memories of all the different things that you see on special trips, or even just out in your yard or out in nature. And we love it when our folks that like to come visit us will share anything that they find when they're out in nature. Anytime you find a neat picture, or if you're going to be doing some nature journaling this summer, we'd love for you to share that. Just tag us on our page, the Alabama Nature Center and Natureplex, and sometimes we can help with identifying different things that you might find if you're not able to figure out what something is. We love the challenge. So anytime you have pictures of that or any of your nature journal pages, we hope that you will share them with us, because we love all the nature things. But I hope that this will kind of give you a little, if you haven't ever nature journaled before, we hope that maybe you'll give it a try and share with us what you do. And remember that all of our trails are we're open. A little family walk by up here, and I did not tell you where I was. I have to make sure none of our staff members give this away, but what I was going to do, we were trying to find a nice quiet place. There are a lot of those out here at the Nature Center. We have 5 miles of trails and boardwalks, but we're going to do a little trivia of where are we today doing this nature journaling Facebook Live for you. If you can, and we're not talking about our staff members, no cheating there, but if you are not a staff member, the first one to correctly guess where we are at the Nature Center, we're going to give you a family pass to come out for free admission as for one day at the Nature Center. Free family pass if you are not an employee and you can guess where we are out at the Alabama Nature Center. But we hope you come see us soon. Send us some of your nature journal pages or fun pictures and things that you're taking this summer. And take care.